Man, I love the intros that we got on here, and every single one of them crack me up, and just so damn amazing what Campy can do on these things. What is happening, everybody? It is Dash to DFS. It is week 10 already, man. We're like 5 weeks away from the playoffs. Although this isn't a show for that. This isn't a show for the playoffs. We still got like 8 or 9 weeks of football here, baby, because we're going to be coming at you every single week here because we don't care about when the season ends. We care about when the actual NFL season ends because that's when we stop cashing in. That's when the money's gone. And I'm telling you what, if you think we win a lot in the regular season, you should see what we can do in the friggin' playoffs, man. That's when we can strike, get really deadly with a lot of lineups, things like that. But enough bragging. On my left, we got my man, Jeff. What's happening, Jeff? How we doing this evening?
Doing well, brother. Always great to be here. You know, it is week 10. Things have flown by. Nothing makes me more thankful, especially since being in November now and we're close to Thanksgiving, than being a single man in a beach community, hearing the potty training issues that are happening in Connecticut. So I digress. Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, well, here's my DFS play of the week. My 2-year-old's about to come down here.
and apparently he did. So fire away, Mike.
Yeah, his 2-year-old came down there, crashed the Wi-Fi, destroyed it. That's awesome. Poor Joe. We all know how that is going through with kids and stuff like that, man. They can definitely be pretty damn difficult. With that, we'll go ahead and just get right down to brass tacks. Oh, there he is. We'll go ahead and let him finish his piece right there.
Yeah, I will finish. I'm going to on here to piss all over you. He's going to piss all over your beach community. He's going to piss and she's going to like it.
Boom. That's like NWA tough right there.
Listen, it's week 10, and I'll tell you, like, it's funny with the NFL because as we're all struggling with bye weeks and injuries, I feel like the league gives us just enough injuries each week, especially from a DFS perspective, to have enough viable guys at 4,200, 4,300, 4,500 to get the lineup that you need. And I'm glad that we're here to spend the next 30 minutes with you guys and tell you exactly who those guys are.
That's excellent. Yep, that's a great point. Yeah, there's always a silver lining somewhere in there. You just got to sometimes work really hard to get it, and that's definitely what the case was this week with a lot of positions, man, because like you had to really pay up for a lot of these key players this week. I noticed, and to see him in that's getting to be quite the case. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Twitch. We got a new Facebook. We got to have to update that banner there. Spotify. Make sure get the Thanksgiving Day squares, $5. Play or be a square. That's funny. And inquire with the DM at Coach Sheps. He'll hook you guys up. He'll get you guys going. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, hit the bell. Give us that 5-star review, even if it's a bad one. Say whatever you want on there. We'll read even the bad reviews on there. Just make sure it's a 5-star so you're not being a jerk. Go to www.ToiletsToTitles.com. Best videos, articles, and NFL fantasy content on the internet, man. I'm telling you, these guys are kicking ass, taking names. They're coming out with more and more articles every week. We really are popping all season long on that site. And if you haven't joined yet, make sure you go to patreon.com/ToiletsToTitles. There's all the things down there, man, all the different tiers we got. My favorite, obviously, the $10 with free entry into the Frankenstank. The Frankenstank is a blast, although it can also be disheartening when you get your ass kicked in a week, which I just did last week. The guy played a dude on a bye week and whipped my ass, and then he traded him for Justin Jefferson. I lost Justin Jefferson. I'm very, very heartbroken about that still. But with that, we'll go ahead and kick on to our fades of the week this week. And Jeff, we're going to go ahead and lead this off with you. Who are you fading this week? Who don't you like?
This is an interesting week as Mike goes dark on us, but typically I'll roll with a particular player that I'm fading. This week, I'm fading an entire game just because a lot is up in the air about the quarterbacks and so on. You got Arizona in Los Angeles against the Rams. And Joe might give us an update as far as the quarterbacks are concerned. It seemed like Murray and Stafford are both kind of up in the air. And can you really trust either one of these offensive, aside from Kupp, let's get away from him, but who may be like the only kind of staple as far as either one of these two teams is concerned. But I can't trust anything going forward from Stafford, Murray, even Hopkins or whoever. Just as far as a game, I'm staying completely away from this. So forget the players. I'm going the entire game. I'm forgetting.
Yeah, it's amazing how things change in just a year. I mean, last year, obviously, the Rams were on their way, and Arizona offensively. I think DeAndre Hopkins is playable, although he has been great since he's been back. Although there's the Jalen Ramsey X factor there, but I do agree with you, Mate, and I'll tell you too. Kyler Murray seems to be a very pure game time decision. Stafford, he did return to practice despite being in the concussion protocol. So yeah, I mean, they are pretty much fifth game time decisions. And I'll tell you something, if these guys don't play, Murray and Stafford, you really can't. I would completely stay away because these offenses are struggling, and especially in the red zone with their starting quarterbacks. So I would absolutely agree that without them, I would feel the same way. I think that's a great fade in general from a game perspective. And I'll give you another one real quick. The Saints are at Pittsburgh. I believe TJ Watt's back, and it is amazing what one guy can do to a defense. So I would fade the New Orleans Saints, who obviously were dreadful last week anyways, at home against the Ravens. But knowing that they're walking into Pittsburgh with TJ Watt back, I don't feel comfortable playing anybody New Orleans this week either. What do you got, Mikey?
On that note, I would feel like Alvin Kamara might be a guy that I would still be confident with.
Fair.
Because you're not sitting Alvin Kamara, but everybody else, and maybe even Olave, just because he's a pass catching monster. But I agree. Yeah, you're right. You get TJ Watt on that field, that defense really starts being a wrecking ball out there. They do really, really good against a lot of teams. So good point with that one. My fades this week is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I just don't like the matchup. I know he can usually get it done on the ground. I don't foresee that happening. And Aaron Jones being banged up coming up this week as well. I really am fading him. I just don't like the offensive opportunity that they have either. They're facing a top-tier defense. I'm just Aaron Jones. As much as I want this guy to be able to pop out and do good, because I've got him on every single one of my lineups, except my DFS this week. That's one lineup that he will be sitting the bench on for sure.
I mean, let's be honest real quick, Mike. How excited was everybody? And again, it's not about wishing injury, but from a fantasy perspective, I think we were all kind of excited on Tuesday even, where like Aaron Jones had an ankle injury, and it looked, early in the week, it looked less optimistic that he was going to play. And I think we were almost relieved, like, oh my God, finally we're going to get a week of clarity with this Green Bay running game, and AJ Dillon's going to really have like a chance to go off and have himself a real game and be a guy for a week. But that's not going to happen. Jones is playing, so it's going to be the same old. And that's another game fantasy wise. Like, I would fade that whole Dallas Green Bay game to a certain extent. The Packers need to muck these games up to win them. These are two above average defenses, one very, very good defense in Dallas, obviously. Packers offense is struggling. Dallas offense looking pretty good at Lambeau Field, getting cold out. Big, conference game. I could see that ending up being a lower scoring game. Zeke Elliott is trending towards a game time decision. I consider that one to be a pretty big one fantasy-wise, because I would feel very good about trotting Tony Pollard out for $6,500 DraftKings dollars tomorrow if Zeke Elliott does not play. That's for sure.
I mean, even if Zeke Elliott does play, I'm really not too worried about it. I think I'm getting Tony Pollard involved either way. I think that guy's done enough to carve himself a role in that offense. And I mean, honestly, if you're watching, like, to me, if you put Ezekiel Elliott out there, you're kicking your own ass if you're Dallas, and this cat agrees.
Chloe. She's no easy sell. Wow.
That was awesome. That was Olympic style cat right there.
That was like the scarecrow from Halloween. Yeah.
Right. The hits just keep coming. We don't care about the date. We'll scare you all year long. D. Louvier says, sorry if I miss this, but can we expect anything from Eno Benjamin at this point? They have 3 flexes to fill. Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and let you lead this one off.
I mean, Eno Benjamin, I think I kind of said my piece about that entire game. I don't trust anybody in that entire game, whether Connor or Eno or whoever's playing. So Rams have a good defense. Their offense has been suspect at best as far as from a fantasy perspective. That whole game I'm staying clear of. So if you have another option besides Eno, go that way because I can't do it. I can't do it.
I think with James Conner out a few weeks, Benjamin was relevant just because he was getting some touches, but Conner was back last week. Conner out touched Benjamin 12-5. So I to Jeff's point, he's just not going to get the touches to be that relevant with Conner back. Now, what are your other options? Could he be the best option? Unfortunately, maybe he could be, but do you want to play him from a DFS perspective? I don't think so.
No, nope, not at all.
Muted Mikey.
I was going to say, I don't think from a redraft league even, I don't want to get a guy out there that has an opportunity at maybe 5 to 6 touches a game. I do understand there are leagues where you're going to have to roll out and pray to God you get those 4 to 5 touches a game. I'm in a few leagues where if the guy gets 1 touch a game, you're kicking ass and taking names. He got off the bench that day, and they must have been up or down for him to touch the football. So I've been there before. So, but if I can avoid this move at all costs, I'm definitely doing it.
I would, as Joe said, I would love to know what the other options are actually, because if that's your best option, either at running back or, if it's at flex, go somewhere else. If that's your best
there's
option,
tight ends that you would flex over Benjamin. To Jeff's point, there really are. Like Cole Kmet's coming off 2 touchdowns and a lot, heavy activity with Fields waking up. So. Yeah, options are there.
Dulcich is another good one that I like a lot.
He's been double-digit fantasy points 3 or 4 weeks in a row now for Denver.
Yep, heck yeah, he's rocking in my tight end slot this week. Jeff, who are the guys actually Joe? We'll go ahead and let you kick this one off. Who are the guys you're paying up for this week?
Yeah, so I am playing Pat Mahomes in one of my 2 main lineups, home against Jacksonville. He's 7,900 on DraftKings. He's the second most. He's 700 less than Josh Allen. Obviously, we have some Josh Allen concerns on if he's really going to take the field this week. Buffalo's being really cryptic. It's starting to feel like Allen's not going to play. So Mahomes is the most expensive quarterback on the slate without Allen playing, but I am going Mahomes in one lineup. I am paying up also for let's talk about Derrick Henry real quick. If you listen to me week after week, I'll talk about not loving running backs that don't catch the ball. But Henry, in his last 6 games, DraftKings points, 26, 38, 19, 30, 26, and 25. So I don't think we have to worry about Derrick Henry not catching the ball. Home against Denver, decent defense, but Tennessee's winning games, and they're doing it with Derrick Henry. I'm paying up with Derrick Henry. I will say this, I'm not paying up for a lot of wide receivers this week. In my opinion, I'm seeing a lot of great value from some cheaper guys from a wideout perspective. I will say this, DeAndre Swift is only 6,400. And, the last 2 weeks, he's played a limited snap count strategically going into the game based on his health. It sounds like they're going to kind of take the leash off. They are going to drop the leash on DeAndre Swift this week.
Oh, so well played, kid. Well played.
At 6,400 against the Bears, I'm loving DeAndre Swift.
See, now, if we could just cue the cat to come in right there, that would have been the perfect timing shot for that right there. Jeff, who are you paying up for this week?
So I don't disagree with Joe from a wide receiver standpoint this week, with one exception. And I hate to beat a dead horse because I brought this up last week, and I'm going to bring it from a quarterback perspective too, but we'll get into that. Tyreek Hill on FanDuel at home versus Cleveland. He's 9,000 on FanDuel. Let me give you the last 4 games. He's averaging 12.5 targets per game, 9.5 receptions, and 145 yards receiving average per game. How you steer away from Tyreek Hill at all is beyond me. So I'm riding that train. The other guy I'm going with, and again, I said it last week, I'll say it again. Don't get me wrong. I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he'll probably have a big day against Jacksonville. You got to go with Justin Fields at home versus Detroit. He's 8,300 on FanDuel. If you're paying up for a couple guys Fields and Hill have not missed in the last few weeks at all. And I don't know how you don't continue to go down that path.
And just to defend myself and agree with Jeff, Fields is my main QB in my biggest, highest investment lineup this week. Jeff called it last week, and it's been a few more weeks than that, but it's incredible. We're finally seeing that turnaround and the combination of what he does with his legs and now what he's doing in the air. You got to buy now before the salary's too high.
Yeah.
Mikey. Muted Mike again.
Muted Mike.
Freaking amateur hour over here with this guy. I'm on the Fields train. I'm definitely, that's the guy who I've got as another pay up guy for myself is Justin Fields. But I can actually avoid him. And this is another guy right there that is worth paying up for. What's up, Nate? How we doing this evening, my man? I hope things are going well. He says Saturday Night Money Machine. And he says Nick Chubb getting that money. Yeah. Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and why doesn't Nick Chubb get like, what's funny with Chubb? He doesn't get, well, any Chubb is funny. That is true. But,
yes.
He
low hanging fruit, Joe. Low hanging fruit.
Chubby low hanging fruit. But he doesn't get the, and I know he doesn't catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, and he's got a Hunt in with him. But Chubb does not get the respect he deserves. I agree 100% with Nate. If you're willing to roll out Derrick Henry, there's no reason why you're not willing to play Chubb. And Chubb's actually a little cheaper than Henry, so I agree with Mr. Wallen.
And I'll piggyback on that. I brought up Tyreek Hill. I'm paying up for that entire game because. Cleveland and Miami's defense, or Miami in general, has proven that they're fantasy cash cows from an offensive standpoint, and they allow a ton on the other end from their defensive standpoint. So anybody who plays against them is going to have an enormous day, and they're always going to have an enormous day offensively. So go ahead, Mikey.
Well, I'd just like to do a really quick ode to Nick Chubb really quick because every single season and off season, it's like we get into the offseason and everybody starts arguing about Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, and everybody like that. And then guys like me get that 11th and 12th spot because we know we get to double up. And I got to get Nick Chubb in the 11th, and I got to get Nick Chubb in the 12th. And I laugh at you when I kick your ass every single week in, week out with the number one running back. And you know what's going to happen this year? Everybody's going to stop talking about Nick Chubb. I'm going to draft him next year again in the 11th or 12th round or 12th pick, and I'm just going to be happy. So
every year, absolutely.
Every single year, man. I love Nick Chubb. But, yeah, the other guys who I'm paying up for is Etienne. I think he's been proven to be about the only thing on that Jacksonville team that's been really bright, although there's been a lot of kind of like bursts from everybody else. He's kind of a real bright spot that's been just solidly burning on that team. And then the other one was Saquon Barkley. Man, Saquon Barkley, talk about another burning spot on a team that's been getting it done. He's been winning games for the Giants all season long. I don't see him I don't see him getting away from that anytime soon. And he says he's been pounding the Chubb drum for years. He loves pounding Chubb drum.
That's why I was late tonight.
That's pounding the Chubb drum.
Come on, man.
So real quick, the follow up on the Benjamin flex options, and one of his options is Valdez Scantling, and I don't want to steal my own thunder, but no McCole Hardman this week, so Scantling's the number 2. He's going to be out there probably 80% of the snaps. He's 4,100 on DraftKings. One shot to him makes that a great value day. So if you're gonna, Mac Hollins from Oakland or Las Vegas is out there too, right around 4,300 without Hunter Renfrow. I'm loving Scantling and Hollins as those cheaper injury by wide receiver plays.
Yeah, he's 5,400 on FanDuel, FYI.
Yeah, Mac Hollins is another great option this week. Yeah, and that actually, Nate says, who you guys paying down for, Johnny Wolfman or Colt McCoy? I don't think we're paying down for those, but I think all three of us definitely are in agreement here when I say that none of us are paying very much for wide receivers this week because there is like just kind of a bargain bin of value right there in the middle tier. Now, I'm not expecting these guys to go out there and give me 30 games, although they do have the ceiling to go out there and give me 30 games. I am fully expecting 16, 14s, something to that effect out of these guys, which should be just enough with my other top tier guys out there, hopefully out producing what they're going to be projected for, to put me right on that money line. And with these little receivers that may be lesser owned, put me over the cap and start getting me some of the higher lines on the money line right there. So with that, we'll go ahead and start busting. Oh no, you guys haven't even got into you guys went over your who you paid up for as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and get into our lineups this week. Joe, who are you kicking off this week? What's your DraftKings lineup looking like?
Yeah, and we're gonna go so we're gonna go main lineup here. Justin Fields, quarterback, 6,500, home against Detroit. I mean, Fields' last 3 DraftKings games, 45, 26, and 24. 3 touchdowns last week through the air, after another 178 yards rushing and another touchdown. Detroit, obviously worst defense in the league. Loving Fields. Loving that there's just somebody new to be excited about, from an NFL perspective and a fantasy perspective. Paying up, as we talked about, Derrick Henry and DeAndre Swift. And actually, Dameon Pierce is my flex. So putting some big money into the running backs tomorrow. Again, that's Henry, DeAndre Swift, and Dameon Pierce. The thing to look out here is Swift's only 6,400 because he's played an abbreviated snap count the last 2 weeks. And even with that, he's been pretty effective. I expect him to score like a number 1 running back with a number 2 salary. So loving that there. Dameon Pierce, just like Adian in Jacksonville, Pierce is like 75% of Houston's offensive yards at this point. So as good as the Giants are looking, I do expect Pierce to be able to navigate some yardage there. The wide receivers, we are paying up for Jalen Waddle at 7,600. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's breaking records, but Waddle's like $1,500 cheaper. And Waddle's last 4 games are 19, 33, 12, and 20. So, Tua's just going to both those guys all day, every day. So I like Waddle home against Cleveland. Talked about both my other guys. I just talked about Hollins stepping in for Renfro, Las Vegas home against Indy. When he gets the snaps, he went for 8 targets 2 weeks ago, another 4 last week. So at 4,200, would love Hollins to get me 10. And then the other one is Marquez Valdez-Scantling, no Mecole Hardman for KC home against Jacksonville. So Scantling will be lining up opposite Schuster, and I like him to hit a big play tomorrow. We're playing Cole Kmet for the Bears at tight end, 3,400. He scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, part of the whole Justin the Fields resurrection, whatever you want to call it. And then we will close this thing out with the Titans defense, home against Denver, 3,200. And I'll tell you something, I think we're all surprised that the Titans are, 6-2, 5-3, whatever they are. They lost week 1 against the Giants at home. But here's let's look at this. In DraftKings, in my opinion, is not very friendly to defensive scoring as far as I'm concerned, obviously, other than like a defensive touchdown. But the Titans are 7-9, 19, 6, and 10 in their last 5 games for points scored. And that had games against Kansas City in there too. So I feel like they've been a little underrated. So liking them home against Denver for 3,200.
I like it. Jeff, what are you rocking out this week on FanDuel?
So it's no surprise. And I had a couple different lineups that I was looking at, and a couple different, especially looking at receivers. But I decided to go with one particular one. Obviously, it's no surprise. I'm going Fields at home versus Detroit. He's 8,300 to me. Again, no brainer. Mike, you brought up Travis Etienne. I'm total agreement with you. He's at Kansas City. He's 8,000. I get it's a little pricey as far as a running back standpoint, but once you get kind of beyond that point, or at least a little bit too low, there's really not a whole lot going on. So you got to make up for it receiver-wise. My other running back I'm starting, aside from flex, is Jonathan Taylor at the Raiders, 7,000. I don't feel 100% confident about this one, but it's Jonathan Taylor. He had a great week 1. We haven't seen greatness since. He has to have some sort of breakout week coming up. I'm hoping this is it against the inept Raiders, because they are just rudderless with Josh McDaniels there. Wide receiver, no surprise, Tyreek Hill, 9,000 at home versus Cleveland. And one flyer I'm going with. George Pickens at home versus New Orleans. I don't think Lattimore is playing from what I gather. He's 5,600. We'll see what happens. Not my most confident pick ever. One, I'm going out, and this is kind of the Mesha blind pick of the week. We're going Jerry Jeudy, Broncos 6,400, and pardon me, I gotta take those off at Tennessee. That's kind of my take it or leave it for this week. I think Jerry Jeudy has separated himself as the number one option in Denver, especially from a deep option standpoint. So I'm going that way. Take it or leave it. 6,400. Tight end, big time flyer. I had to find value somewhere. Tanner Hudson, Joe's boy, I think, at home versus Houston, 4,500. Flex, I'm going Jamal Williams. I like him better than DeAndre Swift. Don't get me wrong. I think Swift's a great talent, but Jamal Williams seems to be the Kareem Hunt to the Nick Chubb of the Detroit Lions, 7,400. And then I'm going Bears, 3,800 at home versus Detroit. Jared Goff never gets it done on the road, so that's where I'm rolling, Mike.
I like it a lot. Both your guys' lineups actually have there's quite a few overlaps even again this week. And anytime that I get an overlap with you guys, I get pretty excited about my lineup. I'm like, hell yeah, I get pumped up. One thing I would completely argue with though is the whole Jerry Jeudy thing. I think Cortland Sutton is by far the number one wide receiver for Russell Wilson. I think we'll really see him emerge.
Okay.
I think one could argue Greg Dulcich is the wide receiver one in Denver, even after the past few weeks, with what he's getting done there by comparison to the whole wide receiving core that everybody was so excited about to see getting down. But so with that, for my lineup, I got Justin Fields also at 8,300. We beat that dead horse down to the ground. Everybody knows we love Fields. That's a treat. That's a trifecta for us right there. So you be prepared for him to have some pretty heavy ownership tomorrow. Try to make your plays on the side outside of that to try to make up for that. We got Isaiah Pacheco against the Jacksonville Jags. He's been getting more and more involved every week. I like Isaiah Pacheco to take over the lead role over Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who he's been flashing, looking good, but not good enough where this Pacheco guy ain't coming in there and kicking ass. We got Saquon Barkley at 9,500 at home against Houston. Very excited to see what he's going to do because everybody's been shredding Houston. And now we give the ball to Saquon Barkley, who's just been a monster this entire year. Houston is the worst defense against the run, so fired up. It's funny, Jeff. It's like you're sitting there going off about this guy, and I'm sitting there just looking at my lineup going, yep, taking a flyer on George Pickens myself against New Orleans without the Lattimore shadow out there to mess us all up. I'm very excited to see what he can get done on the field, and so I got Pickens. He's a very hit or miss. He's a very boomer bust. This guy can throw you an 18 as quick as he can throw you a 0. So very nervous about that. But again, with the running back situations that we had, I had to do what I had to do to pay down for receivers, which Cortland Sutton is another guy who I'm starting this week. And that's why I had the argument. I think Cortland Sutton's going to outproduce Jerry Jeudy. If you look at the lineup on these guys, he's 6,200 and Cortland Sutton is. So they're really close. It's almost the same exact option. It's just we'll figure out who's right or wrong, and we'll tell you next week if you guys watch. Christian Kirk for Jacksonville. I'll probably end up sliding him out, but although he's been very good week to week, it's just I don't really want to have a heavy investment on Jacksonville, and I've already got Etienne as my flex, as you'll hear in just a second. So you may see me fade him, but you may not. I really like this Kansas City Jacksonville to be very high scoring. It's in Kansas City, so it's not going to be in Jacksonville, which seems to slow games down. Kansas City seems to fire people up, get things going. And then I do love Cole Kmet in the tight end position. The guy's been getting it done. I drafted Cole Kmet in almost every single one of my dynasty leagues. And it's funny how many offers I've been putting out offers with Cole Kmet, and everybody keeps laughing at him way back when. And now it's funny how many people are coming in my inbox right now trying to get them.
And in the red zone, he gets a throw almost every series in the red zone.
Yeah.
even if he disappears in, outside the 20s.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Nope. I love it. Yeah. He's been getting really involved, and he's definitely Justin Fields, a safety blanket in there in the red zone. And then I got the Saints at Pittsburgh. I love what Pickett's been doing on that offense, but he's bound to make a lot of mistakes. And this Saints defense is really no joke. They've been the only reason the Saints are even somewhat relevant out there this year besides Alvin Kamara. I think the Saints are going to – I don't think they're going to do anything fantastic. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, which is great. That's going to give us about 10 points if we can keep them to 0, 7 points if we can keep them to 3. And then, to me, I feel like we can count on maybe an interception or two, possibly one of those for a pick six. But you may see me change that over to Pittsburgh too, because, man, I love seeing TJ Watt coming back, and I love seeing that defense with him out there. So
I'll tell you what, though. I like the Pickens play. I do. He passes the eye test, and he had that 0 game, which I'm sure is scaring people away. But that was also against Philly, which is as tough as the matchups can get. I think, trash TDs, we've talked about him. I think Pickens is a good play. And then I'll tell you real quick, because there's other wideouts that I feel like we're just not doing our job if we don't mention, based, going along with the theme of cheap guys worth the money this week. Donovan People-Jones, and let's talk about, Mikey and his game scripts, and it's a good point. He's at Miami. They're going to have to throw. He's double-digit DraftKings points 4 out of the last 5 weeks, at least 4 catches 5 weeks in a row. He's only 4,300, so I really think that he's worth a look. And then here's one kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Juju Smith-Schuster, right? And you had to be a little patient with him. Didn't start great for him in Kansas City. Well, he's arrived now. His last 3 DraftKings weeks are 18, 28, and 25. 22 catches in the last 3 weeks for them. No more Cole Hardman. Schuster's only 6,000 on DraftKings. That feels like you're getting a number 1 wideout at number 2 wideout price. And then the last one that I think is worth mentioning, and it goes along with the theme of the Justin Fields resurgence, is Darnell Mooney. 5,500, and I know another guy that people have had to probably be patient with, maybe lost some patience with, but Mooney's gone for 17 and 12 DraftKings points his last 2 games, 12 catches, and with Claypool there, I think that's actually helping Mooney. Only 5,500 on DraftKings. Any league where you're in a PPR, I think Mooney's worth a look.
I'm gonna jump on that too, because I was on the Mooney train in a different lineup. He's 6,200 on FanDuel. Another guy I want to bring up, since we're talking about receivers, because I love that Cleveland-Miami game, is Amari Cooper at 7,800. Again, the Miami defense has been absolutely atrocious and has given up a ton. So I have to think somebody's going to do something, and I don't see why it wouldn't be Amari Cooper. And not for nothing, I got to defend myself a little bit here on the Jerry Jeudy thing there, Mikey. So I just real quick.
Let's do it.
4 weeks. Last 4 weeks. So Cortland Sutton output. We're talking furthest to now. 9.9, 2.4, 3.8, 1.8. Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy. 6.8, 6.9, 13.1, 15.3. I got to argue the Jerry Jeudy thing, brother. I got to do it.
See, but you're still wrong, and you want to know why? Because I can just take you off the show. That's the joy of being close. So I win every time, Joe.
You can't see me. Look at that.
No! I agree. I just feel like we're gonna see more of the target share go towards his way. I'm not arguing that he's not a better receiver. Even I just feel like Cortland Sutton is the guy to get it done in there for sure. Definitely love giving this guy a hard time about anything I possibly can, but goddamn, he knows his shit. So you should definitely listen to him. Go Jerry Jeudy. I might be even changing my guy over right now. Just because Jeff does seem like he's probably right, and so we did that. We went with Jerry Jeudy over Cortland Sutton.
You threw some George stats out there at you right there.
We're gonna have to make Jeff do it.
I did go full Jorge on that one. I'll see him tomorrow. But I went full Jorge.
Good stuff. Well, guys, on that note, we're gonna go ahead and close it out. Make sure you guys join us here in about 12 hours. We'll be back on with the Sunday Morning Blitz, as always, answering your starting 6 questions. Make sure you're going on to ToiletsToTitles.com. Best articles, best best NFL fantasy content that you can get for your money, which is zero if you just go on the website. But if you do want to kick down a couple bucks, maybe like a cup of coffee or something like that, join that patreon.com/ToiletsToTitles. Like I said, $5 early access to the waiver wire episodes, an invite to the Frankenstank. That's all you need right there is the invite into the Frankenstank. But $10 gets you free entry into the Frankenstank, as well as being in the Discord. I'm telling you guys, all kinds of bang for your buck, and you're going to have all kinds of experts in your pocket. We got Joe showing off his shirt. We're going to be coming out here pretty soon with a store, so you guys can be able to get your own shirts and your own hats and stuff like that. And obviously, we're going to be giving those things away once we get those things rolling as well. And make sure you guys are just following us everywhere. You can follow us: Apple, Podbean, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, whatever the other things are called. Who knows what it's all called anymore?
I'm going to follow my Jerry Judy trail out of here, man.
There you go. There you go.
Drive the steering wheel on the wall right away.
There you go. There you go. On that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and cut out. We will thank you, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning. And if not, we will see you definitely next week. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this week.